At the end of this lesson, I received feedback that resulted in some small but important corrections. These corrections have been integrated into the slides and the words that you see on screen.
So, my name is Jeff Epstein. This is an introduction to modern monetary theory. I am with Real Progressives. You may know me on Twitter as Citizens Media TV. First, I would like to thank especially Rowan Gray and the Modern Money Network for allowing me to give this talk, and my own Modern Money MMT teachers, Jeff Ginter and Ellis Winningham. I want to thank Real Progressives and Steve Grumbine for giving me the platform and to access to a lot of really amazing people. And also to just the many, many supporters who have given me so much feedback in improving this lesson. I've given this pretty much every single week since the end of June, and although it's made an impact from the beginning, it has dramatically improved and sharpened since then. So first, I am not an expert. I am not an economist. So like many of you, I am a student. I never heard of modern monetary theory before February. Therefore, it is not my job to teach. That job is left to the experts and the economists. However, my one and only job is to help you understand all of the miseducation and the misconceptions that we have been taught for our entire lives. After your eyes are opened to MMT, it is time to send you off to the experts, and my job is done. So for those who want to know what MMT is but don't have time to listen to a lesson, I give them this elevator pitch. So modern monetary theory, or MMT, is the study of how our economy actually functions. MMT shows why the powerful always get what they want and why the people only get crumbs, nothing at all, or even less than that. MMT shows exactly how we can actually get the programs that we need to survive. And it also shows that our government can easily give us these things tomorrow if they wanted to, and they could have given us these things decades ago if they wanted to. The powerful have always known MMT. For war and for tax breaks, they just do it. No pay-fors in any of those bills. But when it comes to healthcare, education, forgiving student debt, a job guarantee, suddenly they forget about MMT. Suddenly it's, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? And the way that I like to sort of summarize this all up in a cheeky kind of way is MMT for the rich, rugged neoliberalism for the poor. Okay, so we're going to do this in 5 chapters. First, where does money come from? So you and I, we get our paycheck from our company. Most of us get a paycheck from our company. Some of us sell merchandise and we get money from the people who purchase that stuff from us. Patrons, monthly patrons, we might get monthly contributions or one-time only contributions. So we get it from our employers. We get the dollar from our employers. Where do our employers get it from? They get it from their customers. Those customers get it from their paychecks, and on and on and on and on. But the ultimate answer, what happened? But the ultimate answer is the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve creates the United States dollar. But they don't just create it because they want to create it. They are instructed to do so by the Treasury. The Treasury is instructed to do so by the budgetary process, which represents the numbers that are in laws that are signed by the president. Those laws were originally bills that were written by the Congress. So Congress is the ultimate answer of who creates the United States dollar. Through a series of steps, the Federal Reserve actually does it, but the Federal Reserve is at the command of Congress. So just to give a tiny bit of the details of how this works, the Federal Reserve creates the money, distributes that money to the state reserves distribute that money to the banks, the local banks. They put them in the bank accounts of companies who implement these laws, and then we get it for our paychecks. A critical distinction is that the Congress has no bank that they go to, that they ask for money. We go to a bank and we ask for money, and if they feel like we can handle it, they give us a loan. The Federal Reserve is the bank of the country, but they only work at the command of Congress. This is a critical distinction. There is no bank above the Congress. So Congress writes a number into a bill, and then that bill is signed into law by the president, and then through the budgetary process, the money is created. So for this example, this is a bill on Elizabeth Warren's congressional website, $2.7 billion for fiscal year 2019, same for 2020, same for the next and the next and the next. I believe that these are non-discretionary, so once this law is passed, that this money is created without voting or debate. So writing a number into a bill, I'll take questions at the end, forgive me. Writing a number into a bill is very similar to a child drawing a $1 trillion bill or a $100 bill on a piece of construction paper. It is very similar to choosing to tick up the score on a scoreboard. They can create the money because they want to create the money. The money exists because they want it to exist. So according to the Constitution of the United States, Article 1, Section 8, the Congress is the monopoly currency issuer. This means that they are the only ones in the world that are allowed to create the United States dollar. So the Congress, and I'm going to say Congress and federal government sort of interchangeably, the Congress can create the dollar as much as it wants, whenever it wants, for whatever it wants, and it is the only one in the world that is allowed to do it. The Constitution, Article 1, Section 8. This is what declares that the Congress is the monopoly currency issuer, and also through a series of some Supreme Court cases further clarifies that they can create coins, bills, and electronic money. We are a fiat currency. Fiat means by decision or by decree. We can create the money because we decide to create the money. A fiat currency has a monopoly currency issuer, and the currency is not backed by anything physical, such as gold, and the currency is not pegged to any other economies. In August of 1971, the Nixon administration took the United States and a lot of other countries off of the gold standard. These other currencies are the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, England, and others. The European Union is a more recent fiat currency. Monopoly currency issuer. They create the money, the only one that's allowed to create the money. Everybody else and everything else is a currency user. So me and you and our families and our households and our companies, municipalities, which means states and cities, which means towns and cities, our states, and even other countries such as China and Russia. As far as the US dollar is concerned, we are all currency users. So currency users must get income in the United States dollar from somewhere, something, or someone else. We must get income before we can spend. Because we are not allowed to create the currency, and if we tried to do so, we would go to federal prison for counterfeiting. Congress, however, is the currency issuer. They are the one and only source of the United States dollar. They don't need income before they can spend. To the Congress only, to the currency issuer only, the terms spend money and create money are exactly the same. So when you say the Congress created $100. That is exactly the same thing as saying the Congress spent $100 into the economy. So the Congress doesn't require income, which means that they don't need to borrow from anyone or anything. We don't need to borrow from China because we create the money as much as we want, whenever we want, for whatever we want. And China doesn't create the dollar anyway. They have to get it from us. And again, there is no bank above the Congress. The federal government also does not need to get money from taxpayers because we don't create the currency. Taxpayers don't create the currency. We have to get it from the government. But even just hypothetically, even if we could get it from taxpayers or from China, there is no difference between saying Congress created $100 and spent it into the economy, or Congress created $50 and spent it into the economy, and then somehow collected income of $50 and then spent that also into the economy. There is no difference. There's no benefit in collecting anything. They can just create it. Federal taxes do not fund federal spending. Federal spending funds federal taxes. So what do I mean by that? When the United States government was first formed, when the Constitution was just signed, but before the first dollar was created, it is not possible for the federal government to come to the people and say, you owe us $100 in taxes and it must be paid in the United States dollar, because then they turn to the government and they say, what's a United States dollar? You have never given me one, I have never seen one, so how can I possibly pay your taxes? The people must be given the dollar before they can pay taxes. So another way of saying this is, the people do not fund the government funds the people. Chapter 2.